Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Black Friday to everybody. Today I have a very, very special guest on the phone. Everybody knows who he is. He's a legend in the Clemson community, especially in the Clemson YouTube community. You can already see it on the screen here. It's the almighty Bobby Dirkens. And I want to give up, before I bring him on the phone here, which he's already on the phone, but I'm going to bring him on here to talk to you folks here in a second. I want to give a special thanks to Bobby Dirkens for coming on at very, very short notice. This video was not planned, but I had several requests from viewers to do a South Carolina video with another Clemson fan, and I can't think of another better Clemson fan to bring on than Bobby Dirkens. So thank you, Bobby Dirkens, for coming on the show. And
of course, anything for you, buddy. And I tell you, with an intro like that, I feel like I need to go up here to the bank, empty out my bank account, and just pay y'all for saying that. Thank you for having me on. Thank you. It's always an honor to be on your show, Pete. You know what you do, and unlike other people.
Yeah, and I want to also give you a quick plug, real quick. So everybody knows that me and Bobby Dirkens and Prince 6'1" and Tiger Nation, we went to that Louisville game. If that's what you want to call it as a game, it was more of a beatdown and an embarrassment. But nonetheless, it was a chance for us all to meet up as fellow Tiger fans, and we had a great day, a great time, and it will go down in history as one of my favorite football memories of all time. But Bobby Dirkens was featured on what is it? Tailgating with Tigers. Tailgating for Tigers, which I'm a huge fan of his videos. He's a legendary also YouTuber, and he does great videos where he goes around, during these Clemson games and interviews people. And Bobby Dirkens is going to be featured. I want to say it is at this coming up game, isn't it, sir?
It sure is. Sure is. He and I are going to strap on our loin. I lost our loin guards, or whatever we want to call it. I lost my train of thought there, Pigskin. I'm sorry. I don't know if I had a slight stroke there. Anyway, we're going around. He and I are going to go around, and we're going to interview some Clemson fans, but we're mainly going to interview Gamecock fans. We're going to talk to them. We're going to ask them about how they feel about their team, how it feels to be on the mountain 5 years ago of the Capital One Bowl, and 5 years later, they can't even sniff a win. And we're going to ask them that to their face, and we're just going to find out what they say, and I'm actually going to play a few songs for them, so to their face. So we're looking forward to it. Tailgate Tigers, good people. He's been cutting edge. He's going out there. He's a brave soul. And so he called me up and said, I couldn't think of anybody crazier or semi-drunk enough to go out there with me other than you. So I'm going out there with him. We're going to see what we get.
Well, first of all, I'm sure it'll be amazing and fantastic. But both of you guys are awesome. And I also want to give another plug for you. Since you came on such short notice, and I'm such a big fan of yours and Tailgating for Tigers guy. Bobby Dirkens has a new song that he put out. You may have heard it on his stream if you're a subscriber of his. And as a matter of fact, if you're not a subscriber of his and you're a Clemson fan or just a college football fan, doesn't matter what team you're a fan of. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you were dropped on your head as a kid. Maybe somebody put some strychnine in your Thanksgiving turkey. I don't know what it is.
Probably.
But you need to go hit the subscription button for Bobby Dirkens. I mean, again, I can't say enough about the video maker that he is and the type of fan that he is. But he put out a song, and he sent it to me yesterday in email. By the way, thank you for that.
Oh, it's a Thanksgiving gift that continues to give.
Yeah.
All year long.
And I don't, forgive me if I butcher the name of this song, but I want to say it's Dookie Peckers.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You just heard it yesterday. It's a team that's going to sweep the land. It's going to be up there with Elvis and Taylor Swift and the Beatles, and it's a peck your dookie chicken. And during the summer, I sat down and I said I am going to write an album, and I actually wrote a bunch of songs. I've just got 5 songs done. Good friend of mine, Mike Horner. There's a plug for you, Mike. Mike Horner, who has produced and mixed big things, huge things, commercials. And he called me up and said, I'd love to be a part of this. So I turned it over to him. He's still working on a bunch of other songs I got. But anyway, in the summer, I sat down and I said, what is the easiest, most meaningful thing I could do for the Clemson community, especially, and some SEC schools who probably appreciate it. And that's just open up my heart and let the pure despise of the Gamecocks come out. And I sat down and I penned 10 songs. I was popping out these songs like Trailer Trash Girls popping out Medicaid Baby. I mean, it was just coming out left and right. So that's what I did. That's what I did. I was just, I just did what I do. So I was really in good shape. Really, really good shape, and I appreciate you mentioning it on on here.
Well, all I've got to say is I listened to the song 2 or 3 times, and by the way, just so you know, I played it for my family, and a couple of them are Gamecocks. For anybody who didn't know, that's my Thanksgiving confession. The vast majority of my family are all Clemson fans. I was raised a Clemson fan. I've been over this a million times on my show about my connection with Clemson as far as my siblings and my wife and everything else. But a couple of them are Clemson fans, and even the Gamecock fans thought it was friggin' hilarious. It's a great song. And is it on iTunes? Where can people find it?
It is not on iTunes yet. I'm actually working with a distributor as we speak to get this wonderful musical array of happiness, joy, and common sense laid out there. Now, I will tell you this, and thank you for asking me, and thank you for saying all these nice things about you. I'm beginning to think you're buttering me up so you can ask me and my wife for her to carry your next baby. So, but if that's it, as good as you've been talking, I might let her, But anyway, I'll tell you this real quick. I've had a few people ask me, couldn't this be offensive to Gamecock fans? And you know what I say? I step back and I say, maybe, but this is an intervention for Gamecocks. Only it's in the form of a song. Because a lot of people accept stuff either A, if it's funny, or B, if it's in the form of a song. So a Gamecock's driving down the road one day, he hears that song, he's kind of insulted, kind of gets mad. But he catches himself humming the song, Pete. They go, go ahead and peck your dookie chicken. Hold on. I pull for the chickens. I don't want to peck dookie. And then he converts right there, Lord and Savior, Dabo Swinney, and he's a Clemson fan. I mean, come on, think about it. It's their public service, Pete.
Yeah, listen, nothing's more offensive to Gamecock fans than watching their football team play football. I mean, come on. Your song, although it is very, very true and factual, like most things that you say are, it could not be as near as offensive as actually watching their team play football. And we'll get into that here in a second. There's one last thing I want to ask you before we start getting into this game here.
Yep.
Or not ask you, I'm going to tell you, and you can just respond as you feel fit to do.
All right.
So there's another YouTuber out there, and I don't go after other YouTubers. And by the way, I kind of like this guy. And when I say kind of, I mean on a scale from 1 to 10, it's a 2.
Yeah, that's good.
But he's a Gamecock fan. Everybody knows who he is. Carolina Jackpot. I call him Carolina Crackpot. Yeah, he's a big round-faced fella, but good guy. So somebody directed me to one of his videos the other day, and shockingly, listen, I'm not. I went on there knowing he was going to say bad stuff about Clemson because that's what he does, and that's fine. That's his thing, and that's what he does. We say bad stuff about South Carolina, so it's all in good fun.
Factual things.
But
go ahead.
Shockingly enough, he was talking about you. He talked about me briefly. He actually said something nice about me, which was pretty shocking. But he said that Bobby Dirkens is the quintessential, and I'm paraphrasing here. I don't know exactly what he said, but basically what he said was Bobby Dirkens is the quintessential backwoods, dumb Clemson fan that we've all known grown to know. And I got to tell you, he could have told me that, I had 3 eyeballs, that my kids were retarded, that I had a hair lip. And I wouldn't have been near as offended as I was when he started talking about how Bobby Dirkens was an idiot. I got to tell you, I took offense to that, sir. And go ahead and defend yourself.
Well, first of all, a person who has to defend themselves means that there could even be a touch of wrong, or maybe a touch on their part and a touch of right of what their opponent is saying. I'm going to say this. Carolina Jackpot. I saw some of your videos. You're clever. But it doesn't mean you're smart. Clever and smart are 2 different things. Cunning is one thing. But you're clever, but you're not smart. You are pulling for a team who has hired, up to this point, 2 legends in a row. 2 legends in a row. And it has been the smear mark of their legendary careers.
Legends at different schools.
At different schools.
I just want to make that clear. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're not going to talk about that. I mean, and to hear Gamecock talk about, well, Spurrier had to leave because it was time. In the middle of the season? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, my Lord. So here's what I'll say. Am I a country man? Lord, I'm a refined redneck, guilty as charged. Am I a Clemson fan? Let me tell you right now, I hope the day that the Lord calls me home, they drape my casket in a beautiful paw-cladded sheet, and I pray they play Tiger Rag all the way down, have a few ice cold beers, and we celebrate the Clemson that was, and it's soon to come. If you want to insult me and say I am the Tiger fan that we've all come to hate, or whatever you say, guilty as charged. You know why? Because you hate hearing the words coming out of my mouth. And what are those words? We own you. We beat you. Even in the years that you won 5 straight years in a row, we still managed to make it to the Orange Bowl and beat Ohio State. We still managed to continue to climb out of that, go on to the college football playoff. Y'all just have to keep hiring coach after coach after coach because you can't get it right. So I'm fine. You know what? You are right. I am the Clemson fan everybody, if you're a Gamecock, absolutely hates. You know why? Because when I open my mouth and say we own you, you not sit there in front of God and everybody and swear, oh no, isn't it? You know it's the truth. You can shoot me in the head right now, bury me in the ground, piss on my grave, and I'm still right.
Amen to everything you just said. I couldn't have said it everybody myself. I don't even have anything to add to that. The only thing I will add to that, not to what you said, but just in general, is a lot of these Gamecock fans, what they say is, yeah, you've dominated us. I mean, they've submitted to it, right? A lot of them have even submitted to the fact that we're going to beat their brains in this weekend, which is fine. But they say if we were competing for national championships every year, if we had dominated, our in-state rival the way that you have over the past 126 years, we wouldn't even speak about you. The fact that you speak about us means that we're always on your mind and that you're scared of us. And I would just say to that, the only reason that we speak of you in the manner that we do and spend so much time talking about you is because despite the fact that we have dominated you for 126 years, despite the fact that we have 2 national championships and you have 0, despite the fact that it's 69-42-4 in this rivalry, despite the fact that you've never won a conference championship other than a 1969 ACC title, the only reason you won that is because half of these students at Clemson were all fighting a war, despite the fact that when we come to your stadium, you throw trash and bottles and beer bottles and whatever else on the field at our players. We will be and always have been the class of the ACC, the class of this in-state rivalry, and we are right now, as we speak, one of the classes in the entire country, and you will never be there, and that makes you jealous when we get it.
Yep. And here's the deal. And I've told this story before. I have a friend of mine who's he worked in fine dining. I'm not that highfalutin. Just give me a Bud Light and pack of beef jerky, and I'm fine. But their color, the guy who does the color announcement with Todd Ellis down there, he come in their restaurant. It's a true story now. Come in their restaurant with, I guess, 2 guys who businessmen that graduated. They were older. They graduated from South Carolina. And they did not know that my friend is a Clemson Bible thumping Clemson fan. He never let on that he knew that this was the color announcer for South Carolina. It's that Lauren guy. He talks like this. That guy. And he was sitting in between them. They had just hired Muschamp. Now, the day that they had just hired Muschamp, any good Clemson fan knows that most Carolina fans were honestly very displeased. I got some family very dear to me, love them to death, but they're Gamecocks. And when I told them, you heard Muschamp was hired, they said, "You're joking, Bobby." That's another one of your jokes. That no, I'm not kidding. Turn on the big network and look at it. And they were very displeased. And then after that, it was like all of a sudden, University of South Carolina had sent out appeals to all of their fans. Take this, and you will accept that Muschamp, who couldn't win at Florida, is now our coach. And that's what happened. It was like all of a sudden you met them, and it was like they were in like this day, like they were down at Jonestown about to drink the Kool-Aid. But anyway, they got it. They did it. They did what they did. But I heard my buddy. He told me, he said he heard them ask them. He asked that Kohler, those two businessmen asked Kohler, announcer, said, "What do you think about the coaching staff?" And he said in his voice, I try to do the best impression of him I can. Y'all forgive me if I can't nail it right, but, he said, following, Coach Muschamp said that if he would have had this coaching staff at Florida, he would have never been fired from Florida. And they leaned back like Jesus' disciples at the Last Supper, like he had just given them the keys to the kingdom. Oh, we have great hope. Lou Holtz couldn't win for us. He couldn't. Spurrier won for us for a little bit, but Lord, one day he woke up, his assisted living nurse patted him on the back, gave him his pill, it kicked in, he went, "What am I doing in Columbia, South Carolina?" And he left. And then they put that other guy in charge. He tried to fight one of the coaches, and they were all shaking around over there like they were doing a bad jig or something. Coach Spurrier, you remember that happened. And then, this is great, it's wonderful. Then they hired Muschamp. Couldn't win at Florida. Listen to me, Gamecock fans. He couldn't win at Florida. He took over Urban Meyer's team. Well, they were depleted from talent. And that team depleted from talent has more talent than the team that dominated us for 5 years. Go think about that, Gamecock fans.
Yeah.
Go think about that, Gamecock fans.
And here's the thing, to be in all seriousness. So I was having a conversation with my father yesterday at Thanksgiving dinner. So I'm not going to go into my whole family history. I'm not going to bore anybody with that. But my father has put several kids through Clemson, his older children. He does have one younger. I had one younger sibling that did go to South Carolina. I was in my 30s at that time, so I was already way and far gone. A Clemson fan, and she understands that. She understands my love for Clemson and my hate for South Carolina. So, but that's besides the point. But I was asking my father. We were talking about this game, and we were talking about it objectively, okay? And he said to me, he asked me, what do I think about Coach Muschamp as a coach? And I'll tell you guys the same thing that I told him. If I'm being objective, take the fact that I hate the Gamecocks out of the situation. Will Muschamp, I just do not think is a good coach. I think that what Clemson needs, not Clemson, what South Carolina needs to do is what you see a lot of these other schools around the country doing. Listen, we hit lightning in a bottle, and even the Clemson fans, even you will admit that we struck gold with Dabo Swinney, and that was, that was the vision of Terry Don Phillips, but not, a lot of Clemson fans did not understand this hire when it very first happened.
And can I add right there? I add right there? And I've been very vocal about this, and I'll let you get back to the point, but to support what you said about me, I not only can admit that we struck gold, I can admit, and I've admitted on multiple videos of mine. If you watch my videos, good for you, you know this. But if you don't, this is going to be a newsflash. I was not a fan of the hire. And the reason why, it's easy to look back now and go, Bobby, you weren't in it. Listen, he was a wide receivers coach. He was a wide receivers coach. It didn't seem like a good idea. We'd already made a bunch of bad decisions coaching from the time of Danny Ford. So I'm sorry. I didn't sit there and realize that a wide receivers coach was going to end up doing what he was doing. But the thing is, he went from a wide receivers coach to making the right decisions, and he's done what he's done. So just to build up that, I was not even in favor of him being hired.
Well, that's a perfect segue into what I'm going to say right now, because I'm in the boat with you. First of all, I was not I wanted Tommy Bowden to be fired 2 or 3 years before he was fired. And when they made him the interim coach, of course, a lot of us Clemson fans did not know a whole lot about Dabo Swinney. We knew his background at Alabama when he was a player. We knew his background at Alabama as a assistant coach. But what we also did know about Dabo, even as an interim coach, is that, number one, the players gravitated towards him, and number two, as an assistant coach, as a positions coach, not even an assistant coach, he already had cemented himself as the best recruiter of talent at Clemson. I mean, he was responsible for getting a lot of those big-name guys in there like C.J. Spiller and a few of the other ones. But it didn't take long. Now, I'm with you. It was sort of a head-scratcher, and we knew we had to just have somebody as an interim. But it didn't take long within his first season as full-time head coach for me to fall in love with him. And a lot of these Gamecock fans will come out of the woodwork and say, well, you guys wanted him fired after he lost 3 times in a row to South Carolina. No, well, who's you guys? Because it wasn't me. Because I'll tell you one thing. After 2 years of Dabo Swinney being at Clemson, we had won more games than we had won in one season that we had won the entire time that Tommy Bowden had been there, a 10-game season. And then he followed up with another 10-game season and so on and so forth and started winning New Year's Six bowl games and beating the likes of LSU, Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and the list goes on. Like we know the history here. But my point to my father is that if I'm being serious, if I'm a Gamecock fan, I want a young coach without a history of losing like Will Muschamp had at Florida. Okay, he had one good season of 11 wins, and next season he won, I think, 3 or 4 games. Right. Stop recycling these coaches who have a history, and go out there and get a 30 to 35-year-old young coach from, even if it's from a Group of 5 program or an FCS school, somebody that has some vision. Is there not a coach out there that used to play at South Carolina who loves that school, is ingrained in that culture, who can come in there and give his all to build that program? Will Muschamp is not the answer, folks. That's the whole point of this soliloquy. And I just learned that word, by the way, soliloquy.
Good God.
Yeah, but don't ask me how to spell it, though.
Can I hang up now and sit and think about what you just said? Because
Yeah.
I'm bored.
Don't ask me how to spell it.
I'm not going to. I know. No, I can't even try. The truth is there. You could say, well, Swinney wasn't an Alabama guy. I mean, what do you mean by that, Pigskin Pete? I know exactly what you're saying because me and a buddy of mine said this one day about the NFL. I'd love to become a coach in the NFL, and here's why. Because once you begin to become a head coach in the NFL, they just regurgitate you for the next 15, 20 years. You make $2 or $3, $4, $5 million a year, and you just jump from coast to coast, different region to region. 1 year you're with the Bills, 2 or 3 years later you're with the Jets. 4 years from that you decide to get a tan, move down to Miami. After that you decide you want a cooler northern California, go up and coach the LA Raiders or the Raiders. I mean that's the deal. That's the deal, and we do see it in college football. I always make this joke, Pete, that when these guys get fired, I don't feel sorry for them. I try not to make it personal. I don't feel sorry for them because they get paid out for years, ungodly amounts of money.
They're overpaid.
Yeah, and they're not. It's not like all of a sudden they lose their job at Clemson or South Carolina or Doo-Doo State, and now they're standing at Walmart making minimum wage, welcoming people to Walmart, and it's a beautiful day at Walmart. No, they go on. They're demoted to an offensive coordinator who makes $700,000 a year. People wake up. I mean, and here's the deal. I'm trying not to get all personal and stuff with Muschamp because I don't know him. He might be a good guy. I don't know. But what I will tell you this. The flagship comment that everybody hangs on, especially at South Carolina, is that Nick Saban said he was one of the best coaches he ever knew. One of the best defensive coaches he ever knew. After that, he went to Texas, right? He coached at Texas.
Best coordinators he ever knew. There's a big difference between a coordinator and a head coach. But go on. Go ahead.
You get what I'm saying? He was there. Then he takes over an Urban Meyer team. That yes, a bunch of people graduate and stuff, but that team down at Florida will go down as one of the best teams in history. Yeah, hands down. We're still talking. CBS reporters and commentators can't go a game without talking about not only Tebow but those teams. That's how good they were, and also how much they need stuff to talk about during their broadcast. But anyway, I'm telling you right now, he went to Florida. He had that one good season. He got fired. Florida has not been the same since. That's how much of a dumpster fire it is down there. Then he goes on over. He coaches one season with Auburn, and then he's at South Carolina. Do you really think you're going to go to one of the easiest places to recruit? You're also in one of the richest recruiting guys in the world. And you're not going to win.
This is
you're
my.
going to go to the armpit of the state of South Carolina.
This is my point, and I don't know if this is an athletic director problem, or if this is a fan base problem. Whoever the hell's running the show up there in Columbia, the biggest narrative from non-Gamecock fans that comes out of there is, oh, they can't get an elite head coach because nobody wants to go coach there. And I say, well, that might be true, but here's the thing: it's because you're going after the wrong head coaches. Nobody wanted Dabo Swinney to come to Clemson, right? That we just talked about that. Yeah. If you're going after Lou Holtz and Steve Spurrier and Will Muschamp, they think that they need to hire a guy who has some sort of track record at running big programs to run that program. And I say the opposite. I say get a guy who has never run a program, who has a vision, and somebody commit to this guy for 5 or 6 years. A young guy, a guy with vision, a guy that's thinks outside of the box. If you fail, so what? You've been failing for 100 years. What do you have to lose? Do not go out and regurgitate one of these coaches that's either on the downside of their career, who already has success somewhere else and is just collecting a paycheck, which is what Steve Spurrier and Lou Holtz were doing. I mean, these are national championship winners whose allegiance is to other schools, not South Carolina. Get a guy who's going to be the guy for South Carolina for the next 20 years or 15 years or whatever. But hiring these recycled coaches is not working. Commit to somebody for a lower pay who has a vision, and that's all I'm going to say. I mean, listen, if I could make a wish with a genie right now, that Carolina would continue to do what they're doing and have been doing for the past 30 years, or for the majority of my life, then I would vote for that. But if you actually want to get into a position where you're competing for SEC East titles and competing with Clemson at some point in the near future, or competing, God knows, for somehow a playoff spot or a national championship, you've got to stop doing what you're doing. And I'm just going to leave it at that as far as the Gamecocks are concerned. That's all the free advice I'm going to give to you.
Right. And a couple of years ago when they were looking to hire, they brought up the name of Lincoln Riley. That was one of the names that come up.
They sure as hell missed out on that opportunity, didn't they?
Yeah. And so what you did was you went and you got a guy who was proven to be able. And I've said this 100 times. You and I've talked about this. We agree on this 100%. Is that you can be a good coordinator or a good positions coach, but you're not a head coach. And look, once again, if he becomes an offensive or defensive coordinator, which of course he's defensive mind, a defensive coordinator somewhere. He's not in the cheese line, y'all. He's not having to beg for money for his children to eat.
Yeah.
He's making more money than every one of you that's listening to this, and he's totally fine. He's not the head honcho, but he makes unimaginable amounts of money to go out there and coach football. And though I love football, when you compare it to being a doctor, police officer, firefighter, a lawyer, something like that, doesn't even compare. I mean,
if you just look all over the landscape of college football, even NFL football, but if you look at, let's say right now, you have Kansas hired Les Miles. Now, Kansas is a dumpster program, and will Les Miles be an upgrade? As far as recruiting, probably. Are they gonna win the Big 12? No. I don't care how long Les Miles is there; they're not winning the Big 12. You look at a place like Illinois. They hired Lovie Smith, who had a great deal of success in the NFL. Well, not a great deal, but at least some success in the NFL. And so they say, "Oh, this is a big name guy." I mean, this guy was coaching for the Bears and for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Illinois is still a dumpster fire. So regurgitating these coaches who have not accomplished much and who have an old way of thinking is not going to get your program to the next level. And that's what South Carolina needs to do, is go outside of the box and take a chance on a young guy who has vision. That's my only piece of advice. And we spent enough time talking about South Carolina coaches. We all know how we feel about them. So before we get off here, I want to at least get into this game a little bit. So, I mean, I think myself and you and the majority of the people who have any sense of football at all in this country think that Clemson's going to roll South Carolina this weekend. Is there any way in your mind, Bobby, that just because of the fact that it's a rivalry game, is there any chance that South Carolina keeps this game close on Saturday night?
You know what I want to say. I just want to just spout off at the mouth and go off. My God, I'm the guy who wrote a full album of Despise for them. But being a football mind, and me and you, and I want to tell everybody out here who's listening to this, watching this video, or maybe driving down the road and you can just listen to it, which that's a good idea. By the way, you can put both of us on this right down the road, but it works. Anyway, you and I had some really good conversation when we were at the Louisville game together. We had some really good conversation, and we disagreed about very little. And it wasn't one of those things, if you said it and I just agreed with it, it was just something that we honestly thought. With that said, intelligently, any team has a chance. Right. They really do. We do know that, yada, yada, yada. I think if you go on one of the big networks websites right now, Clemson has a 94.4% chance to win this game. South Carolina has a 5.6. Right. We can sit here and talk about Appalachian State and how they did what they did. We can sit here and talk about other teams who's done what they've done. Is there a chance? If Clemson comes out and play as lackadaisical as they played against Duke, you could stay closer. I mean, they dropped a lot of balls. I said this on my reaction to the video. Last time I saw that many drop balls, it was in a room full of adolescent boys. I mean, it was just tons. The balls dropped. But it's not going to happen. I think they may come out. You might possibly see them come out and they're kind of all pumped up and they're ready. And our depth and experience and talent and coaching that has been there for years, solidarity across the coaching front, it's going to outlast them, even if they did give us a good game. I think I have called for a 56-10 win. I've called 10 points is going to be given up against our second or third string. I think it's going to get that bad. And the reason I think it's going to get that bad is because Clemson is that freaking good. Yeah. I believe it. I believe that we're going to see them take some early shots down the field. You're going to start to get them kind of scared, especially if those shots down the field work. And then it's just going to open up the running lanes for our four more than capable running backs. So good luck to South Carolina. Never again. Spurs up. High fives. What's so funny is y'all should just go into marketing because y'all just come up with slogans, but you can't win a football game. So and tomorrow night's going to be another one you don't win. So good luck to you all.
Yeah, so I hear a lot of this talk about it could be a rivalry game, it could be a trap game. I will give South Carolina this much. They don't have anything to lose. I mean, they've already made their bowl game. They're not going to go any further than that. Clemson has everything to lose. I mean, this is almost every week from here on out is more than likely a playoff game for Clemson as far as the playoffs go. I will give them that much. I will give them the fact that Jake Bentley, as much crap as I give him, I do think he's a very good quarterback. I think that he's more experienced now, and I give the kid a lot of credit. I rag on Jake Bentley a lot because of his interceptions and because of the way he's played against Clemson and some of the downfalls that he's had in his career. But I will tell you this, as a Clemson fan who's watched Jake Bentley almost every single South Carolina game for the past three seasons that he's been playing, the kid's got guts. I think he's a very smart football player, and I think he's a very talented football player. Unfortunately for Jake Bentley, his coaching staff and some of the skill players that surround him have not really done him any favors.
No, not at all.
Now, having said all that, yes, it's a rivalry game. Yes, anything can happen in college football. We've seen it. We saw Syracuse, a much less talented Syracuse team, beat Clemson last year in Syracuse. This team this year, I feel, is different. I feel that this defensive line that came back, Wilkins and Bryant and Farrell and Lawrence, these guys came back and they are on a mission. I mean, a mission. And the reason they came back was not to win the ACC, was not to beat South Carolina. Their mission in total is to win a national championship. Now, will Clemson go on to win a national championship this year? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, there's a hell of a lot, very great competition out there between Notre Dame, Michigan, Alabama, even Oklahoma. You can throw them in there, Georgia even. But there's no match. There's no chance in hell, in my opinion. I mean, less than 1% chance that Clemson is going to get caught slipping against South Carolina this year. I just don't see it. So I'm with you. I think this game, like most of the country thinks, I think this game is going to be lopsided. I think it's going to be 45-10, 40-10, 40-17, something like that. I'll give South Carolina their credit. If they can score 17 points on this Clemson defense, then they will earn my respect. But I just don't think it's. I just don't think it's going to be close.
I'm with you 100%. Obviously I said that just a second ago. I'm with you. I'm going to make a bold prediction on your show, not my show, on your show.
Yeah.
You want a bold prediction?
Always.
Tomorrow night, when we watch Clemson play, we are watching the national champions play. They are going to win the national championship. And the reason I say that is that this team is ramping up. Bar injuries, this team's going to win the national championship because Alabama, once they faced a defense that could play, they had problems. Interceptions started being thrown. Players started getting banged up, which exposed there's good play. Obviously, they're Alabama. They got some fantastic talent on the line. But those teams with the lines beat up to us. Well, step back and go ask yourself, does Mississippi State or LSU have the line that Clemson has? Not even close.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
Maybe close, but no, not this. That's not the same.
Yeah. So, and then you step back and you look at Notre Dame. Notre Dame, good football team, especially since Book took over. But would you like to play them next week? I sure would.
Yeah.
Would you like to play Michigan next week? Oh Lord, I didn't pay for Michigan to show up.
Yeah. Listen, I'm with you.
Clemson's going to win the national championship.
I'm with you. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that because I just don't want to jinx my team. But you said it, not me. Actually, I did. I did say it on my last stream. So, yeah. No, listen, I agree. I mean, I think there's a handful of people, if at least that many people down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that disagree with what you're saying and what I'm saying. But I wholeheartedly agree with you that if I think that top to bottom, and me and you and the rest of Tiger Nation may be the only people that think this way. But I've watched all the Alabama games. I've watched all the Clemson games. I've watched all the Michigan games, Notre Dame, and so on and so forth. I just think that barring a slip up, that Clemson is the most complete team, top to bottom, roster wise and talent wise and execution wise, right now in the country. And I mean, obviously, I'm biased and you're biased. We love our Tigers so much that we're going to think that way. But I'm just telling you, I haven't felt this way about a Clemson team ever. Even the Deshaun Watson National Championship team was not as complete as this one, in my opinion.
No, and you're right there, because I remember where I was at when Pittsburgh kicked that field goal to win the game. I watched it. I stood there in awe, and the next words out of my mouth to a fellow Clemson Tiger, I looked at him, I said, there goes the national championship. It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. And that's how most of us felt. And then some things happened. They got into the playoff. Thank you, God. They won a national championship. But you and I are truly realistic. I might sound like a babbling buffoon, and if you ask my wife, she'll tell you that I am. But you know that I'm right on this. This is 100% true. This team, and here's another thing for you. I know Darth Vader Saban is the head coach of all head coaches. Well, everybody talks about it all the time. But he cannot keep an assistant. Our team has been together. Our coaching team, our coaching roster has been together. The majority of them have been there for years now. It is truly a family. And I'm not saying if they get offered a good job, I don't blame them for taking it. They've been there a long time. But solidarity among a coaching staff, that's huge. It not only comes down to Dabo Swinney. You've got a whole host of people who've been there for many years. And that's why I feel comfortable, not only talent, but coaching, saying, I believe we're looking at the national champions. And it's going to take a few months for it to happen, or 6-7 weeks, whatever it is. But we're watching national champions play tomorrow night. And it's not Alabama, it's not Notre Dame, it's not Michigan, it's Clemson.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, but I'm not gonna say it yet. I'm too superstitious. But what I want to do right now, is, first of all, I got to go, but I want to thank Bobby. First, I want to thank all the viewers. Wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, a happy holiday season. I want to wish all of your teams good luck this weekend and your rivalry games. unless you're a boom chicken. I want to thank Bobby in particular for coming on in such short notice and providing me and the rest of us with such great entertainment, which he does on a daily, if not weekly basis. I don't know what else to say. Good luck to, and this comes with all seriousness here, because even as a huge Clemson fan, I do always want to see a great game and the best team win. So good luck to the Gamecocks this weekend. No kidding. Welcome to Clemson, South Carolina. We won't throw bottles and trash at you. I promise. Well, I can't promise it. I promise I won't. And most likely Bobby won't.
Well, you know what? If I need to take a piss and I got a balloon that I could seal with, like y'all did our kicker a couple of years ago, I might do it, but the Lord will grab my hand and say, "You put that down, or I'll, slap you with my sandal."
That's right. So, Bobby, thank you for coming on, sir, and thank you.
It's a pleasure. And everybody, I know this is his show. He had me on. You think I'm just buttering his ears, tickling his toes, but no, I'm serious. Pigskin Pete, you are one of the few good ones. Well, there's some good ones out there. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying overall, percentage-wise, you're one of the few good ones who knows what you're talking about. You have been a good friend to me, and you always have a place. If you get kicked out tomorrow, you got a place on my futon up here in my office.
Hey, don't offer me that. If your doorbell rings tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., it's me, sir.
Yeah, and I'll just drag you up to the game, and you can go out with me and tailgating for Tigers, and you can ask stupid questions to the Gamecock fans.
Now you're really tickling my ass with a feather, sir.
Woo!
All right, Bobby, I love you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too. Y'all be good.
All right, man. Later. There you have it, folks. You heard it from the horse's mouth himself, Bobby Dirkens. Love that guy. So check out his channel. Check out Tailgating for Tigers channel, and make sure you watch that stream that's going to happen tomorrow. Or whenever he posts it. I don't know. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for checking in. I'll see you guys tomorrow, actually, I'll see you tonight. Hell, I'll see you tonight in a few hours. I'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock for the Oklahoma-West Virginia game, live play-by-play and reaction. And we'll see you tomorrow, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, for Ohio State and Michigan. Huge game. Thanks, everybody, for checking in. Pigskin Pete, checking out.